In the beginning, there was nothing, a vast, unending void that stretched infinitely in all directions. This was the realm of none, an abyss of swirling darkness and infinite, formless waters, where chaos reigned supreme and time itself had yet to be born. In this primordial chaos, there was no light, no land, no life, only the ceaseless churning of the cosmic ocean, an eternal dance of potentiality and nothingness. But from the depths of this formless expanse, a monumental change began to stir. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, a great mound of earth emerged from the churning waters of none. This was Ben-Ben, the sacred mound, the first land to rise from the abyss. It was a place of profound power and mystery, a beacon of hope in the endless darkness. Atop this mound, a single lotus flower began to grow, its roots reaching deep into the heart of the earth, drawing sustenance from the very fabric of creation. As the lotus unfurled its petals, a radiant light burst forth, piercing the darkness and illuminating the void. This was no ordinary light, it was the embodiment of divine energy, the very essence of creation itself. And from this radiant heart, Ra emerged, the sun god, the bringer of light and life, the first and greatest of all the gods. Ra was a being of infinite brilliance and power, his form both terrifying and awe-inspiring. He stood upon the Ben-Ben, his eyes blazing with the light of 1,000 suns, and in that moment, the universe awoke. With his emergence, Ra brought balance to the cosmos. He was the sun, the source of all life, the force that would drive back the darkness and give birth to the world. But he was alone, and in his solitude, he felt the weight of eternity upon him. And so, from his very breath, he created Shu, the god of air, a being of gentle strength and boundless freedom. From his tears, he formed Tefnut, the goddess of moisture and rain, a deity of nurturing and life-giving power. Shu and Tefnut were Ra's firstborn, his divine children, and he tasked them with shaping the world. But the vastness of none was endless, and the young gods, eager to explore the unknown, ventured deep into the abyss. They traveled through the formless waters, seeking to understand the mysteries of creation and to bring order to the chaos. As time passed, Ra, the Great Father, began to feel a profound sense of loss. His children had not returned, and he feared they were lost forever in the endless void. His grief was overwhelming, and his tears fell like rain upon the earth. From these tears, humanity was born, fragile, yet filled with the potential for greatness. Meanwhile, Shu and Tefnut, after a long and arduous journey, found their way back to their father. They returned with the knowledge and wisdom they had gained, bringing with them the foundations of the world. Their union bore two powerful deities, Geb, the god of the earth, and Nut, the goddess of the sky. Geb was a deity of immense strength and stability, his body forming the very land upon which life would flourish. Nut, with her vast, starry form, arched over the world, a celestial canopy that would watch over all of creation. But the universe was still in a state of flux, and the balance of creation was precarious. Ra, in his infinite wisdom, decreed that Nut must remain above, arching over the world, while Geb was to lie below, forming the foundation of existence. Yet, the two deities were deeply in love, and their embrace threatened to disrupt the delicate balance of creation. To prevent them from uniting, Shu, the god of air, stood between them, holding Nut high above so that the heavens and the earth remained separate. Thus, the great expanse of the sky and the solid ground beneath were established, and the world began to take shape. Ra ruled as the supreme god, his authority unmatched. He gifted the world with sacred animals, the mighty lion, the steadfast ox, and the revered ibis, each embodying different aspects of his divine power. But his greatest gift was the creation of the Nile River, the lifeblood of Egypt. The Nile flowed through the land, bringing with it the gift of fertility and prosperity. It was a source of sustenance and life, and around its banks, civilization began to flourish. Temples were built in Ra's honor, and mankind praised him as their divine protector. They built grand monuments and offered sacrifices, seeking his favor and guidance. Ra watched over them, his light shining down upon the world, nurturing and protecting all of creation. But Ra was not blind to the future. He foresaw a troubling vision, a time when his descendants would rise against him, threatening the very order he had worked so hard to establish. Fearful of this betrayal, he forbade Nut and Geb from bearing children. But fate would not be denied. The sky goddess, defying Ra's command, gave birth to 4 children: Osiris, the just and noble ruler; Isis, the goddess of magic and wisdom; Seth, the embodiment of chaos and destruction, and Nephthys, the guardian of the dead. These siblings would shape the destiny of the gods and mortals alike. Osiris was the eldest of the 4 divine siblings, born of Jeb, the god of the earth, and Nut, the goddess of the sky. From the moment of his birth, he was destined for greatness. He was noble, wise, and just, everything a ruler should be. His father, Jeb, favored him above all and granted him dominion over the fertile lands of Egypt. Osiris took to his divine duty with grace, bringing order where there was chaos and prosperity where there was barrenness. His rule was one of enlightenment. He taught mankind the secrets of agriculture, how to till the land and cultivate wheat and barley. Before his reign, humans lived as scavengers, consuming raw meat and struggling to survive in the wilderness. Osiris showed them how to harvest crops, how to grind grain into flour, and how to bake bread, giving them sustenance beyond mere survival. He also taught them the art of winemaking, a sacred craft that brought joy and celebration to his people. But Osiris was not just a provider of food. He brought laws to humanity, teaching them the ways of justice and morality, ensuring that they lived in harmony with one another. He established a system of governance that mirrored the divine balance of the cosmos. Under his guidance, temples were built, and the gods were honored with great devotion. Under Osiris's reign, Egypt flourished. The people lived in peace and prosperity, and the kingdom became a beacon of civilization in a world still shrouded in darkness, leading his people toward a brighter future. He got married to Isis, the goddess of wisdom and magic. Isis was a figure of immense power, known for her cunning and knowledge of the divine arts. It was said that she knew the true name of Ra, a secret that gave her power over even the greatest of gods. She and Osiris ruled together, bringing balance and order to the world. They were beloved by their people, worshipped as the divine embodiment of kingship and queenship. But harmony did not reign among the divine siblings. Seth, the younger brother of Osiris, was his stark opposite in every way. As the god of storms, chaos, violence, and destruction, he embodied the untamed and volatile forces of nature. His domain mirrored his turbulent essence. He ruled over the barren deserts, a land devoid of the fertile blessings that Osiris had brought to Egypt. Seth's kingdom was harsh and unforgiving, a place of scorching sands and relentless winds. While Osiris was celebrated as the bringer of life, Seth was feared as a force of destruction. Seth's resentment toward his brother grew with each passing year. He saw the reverence Osiris received, the love his people gave him, and the abundance of his lands, and he seethed with jealousy. He believed that he, too, was worthy of adoration, that he had been wrongfully cast aside to rule a wasteland while Osiris was given paradise. Seth's resentment was further fueled by his own failed marriage. He was married to Nephthys, the goddess of the night and rivers, but their union was unhappy. Her husband was wild and temperamental, more a force of nature than a loving partner. Nephthys longed for the stability and kindness and affection, so she disguised herself as Isis and seduced Osiris. From this union, Anubis, the god of mummification and the afterlife, was born. When Seth learned of this betrayal, his rage was boundless. He had always been envious of Osiris, but now his hatred became personal. His own brother had dishonored him, and the very thought of Nephthys bearing Osiris's child was an insult he could not forgive. From that moment, Seth's desire for vengeance consumed him. He could not merely defeat Osiris, he had to utterly destroy him. And so, he devised a cunning plan to eliminate his brother and seize the throne for himself. He crafted a magnificent sarcophagus, adorned with gold and jewels, and hosted a grand feast in Osiris's honor, an occasion of celebration and excess. When the gods gathered in the great hall to celebrate, he presented the magnificent sarcophagus. It was a coffin like no other, adorned with gold and inlaid with precious jewels, its craftsmanship so exquisite that the gods marveled at its beauty. Seth announced that he would give it to whoever fit inside it perfectly, a challenge that intrigued all the gods. One by one, they all tried to lay in the sarcophagus, but none matched its exact dimensions. Then came Osiris's turn. He stepped into the coffin, laughing as he settled inside. The moment he lay inside, Seth slammed the lid shut, sealing it with powerful magic. He then cast the sarcophagus into the Nile, where it drifted away, carrying Osiris to his doom. Devastated by the loss of her husband, Isis embarked on a perilous journey to recover his body. Her love for Osiris gave her unwavering determination, and after a long and arduous search, she finally found him. His sarcophagus had drifted to the land of Byblos, where it had become embedded in the trunk of a great tree. The tree had grown around the coffin, encasing Osiris within its sacred wood. Disguising herself as a humble woman, Isis entered the court of the Phoenician king, whose palace had been built using the very tree that housed Osiris. She revealed her divine nature and, with great reverence, retrieved her husband's body, bringing it back to Egypt. However, Seth soon discovered her efforts. Enraged that Osiris had been found, he viciously tore his brother's body into 14 pieces and scattered them across the land, ensuring that Osiris could never be whole again. Yet, Isis remained undaunted. With the help of her devoted sister Nephthys and Anubis, the jackal-headed god of mummification, she scoured Egypt, searching for every fragment of her husband's body. One by one, she gathered them, though one crucial piece, the phallus, had been devoured by a fish in the Nile. Using her powerful magic, Isis reconstructed Osiris, fashioning an artificial phallus imbued with divine essence. Through sacred rituals and the breath of life, she resurrected Osiris, with Anubis aiding in the process by transforming his body into the first mummy. However, Osiris was no longer meant for the mortal realm. Now a god of both death and wisdom, he descended into the underworld, where he became the ruler of the underworld, guiding souls in the afterlife. Before he departed, Osiris and Isis, through her magic, conceived a son, Horus, the falcon god, the rightful heir to the throne. She fled to the marshes of the Nile Delta, where she raised Horus in secrecy, shielding him from Seth's wrath. As he grew, Horus trained relentlessly, preparing for the inevitable battle that would decide the fate of Egypt and avenge his father's murder. The war between Horus and Seth was one of the most brutal and legendary conflicts in divine history, a struggle that would determine the fate of Egypt itself. It was not merely a battle between two gods, it was a cosmic clash between order and chaos, justice and tyranny, the balance of Ma'at and the destructive forces of the wild desert. From the moment Horus came of age, he knew his destiny, to avenge his father, Osiris, and reclaim the throne of Egypt. The gods themselves were divided. Some, like Thoth and Isis, supported Horus, believing that Osiris's rightful heir should rule. Others, like Ra, hesitated, seeing value in Seth's strength and fearing that the young falcon god was not yet ready to bear the weight of kingship. Seth, unwilling to relinquish his claim, mocked Horus. He belittled him as an untested youth, claiming that only a strong warrior like himself could protect Egypt from its enemies. But Horus did not waver. He challenged his uncle, and so began a war that would rage for over 80 years. The first battles were fought across the Nile and its fertile banks. Horus, swift and cunning, led his forces against Seth's warriors, who fought with the ferocity of desert storms. The battles were not only fought on land but also in the skies, where Horus, the falcon god, clashed with Seth, the god of storms and violence. The winds howled with their fury, and the earth trembled beneath their blows. In one of their fiercest encounters, Seth transformed himself into a massive red hippopotamus and sought to drown Horus in the depths of the Nile. But Horus, wielding his divine spear, struck Seth with such force that the river turned red with his uncle's blood. Yet Seth did not fall, his strength was immense, and he fled into the desert to recover. The battles raged on, taking many forms. At times, they wrestled as mighty beasts, at others, they engaged in contests of wit and deception. The gods grew weary of their endless war and decided to hold a trial to settle the dispute. They summoned both Horus and Seth to present their cases before the divine tribunal, led by Ra himself. Seth, knowing that brute strength alone would not win him the throne, tried to discredit Horus through treachery. In one instance, he invited Horus to a feast and attempted to humiliate him before the gods. He proposed that they both transform into hippopotamuses and see who could remain submerged in the Nile the longest. But Isis, watching over her son, feared for his safety. She crafted a magical harpoon and struck at Seth, wounding him. Enraged, Seth accused her of interfering, and in his fury, he turned on his own sister. The war reached its most devastating moment when Seth, in a brutal ambush, gouged out Horus's left eye. It was a grievous wound, for the eye of Horus was more than just sight, it was a symbol of power, protection, and divine order. Blinded by pain, Horus fell back, and Seth, believing himself victorious, roared in triumph. But the goddess Apophis, filled with compassion, took Horus in and healed him. Through divine magic, she restored his eye, making it even more powerful than before. The eye of Horus became a symbol of healing and wisdom, and with renewed strength, Horus returned to the battlefield. At last, after decades of war, the gods could no longer allow the conflict to continue. The divine tribunal convened once more, and this time, after much deliberation, Ra and the other gods ruled in favor of Horus. They declared that he was the rightful ruler of Egypt, for he had proven his strength, wisdom, and ability to endure suffering. Seth, though mighty, had relied too much on force and deceit, and his reign had been one of chaos rather than order. Seth was furious, but he could not defy the will of the gods. Defeated and humiliated, he was stripped of his claim to the throne. As punishment, he was exiled from Egypt, doomed to wander the barren deserts he had once ruled. Despite his exile, Seth's story did not end in disgrace. Ra, recognizing his raw power and resilience, offered him a final role in the divine order. Rather than cast him into oblivion, Ra appointed Seth as the guardian of his solar bark, the great ship that carried the sun across the sky. With Seth removed from the throne, Horus ascended as the ruler of Egypt. He brought stability to the land, ensuring that the divine balance was restored. From his lineage, the pharaohs were born, each one considered a living embodiment of the falcon god, a reminder of the great battle that had once raged between gods. The war between Horus and Seth was not merely a battle for power, it was a war that shaped the very order of the cosmos, defining the roles of gods and the balance between light and darkness for all eternity. Ra, the once mighty ruler of the gods, began to feel the weight of time upon him. No longer ruling the earth directly, he ascended to the heavens, where he rode his great solar barge across the sky by day, casting his radiant light upon the world each day. At night, he descended into Duat, the shadowy realm of the underworld. The underworld was treacherous, divided into 12 regions, each representing an hour of the night. As Ra's bark traveled through these shadowed realms, he encountered many perils, vengeful spirits, lakes of fire, and gates guarded by fierce deities. But the greatest threat was Apophis, a colossal serpent of endless hunger, a force of pure chaos that sought to consume the sun god and plunge the world into eternal darkness. Every night, Apophis attacked, and every night, Ra, aided by Seth and Bastet, battled to ensure that dawn would come again. Despite his past treachery, Seth proved to be a powerful ally, defending Ra's vessel against the terrible serpent and defeating it several times. This alliance made Ra's underworld journey safer, but the threat of Apophis was ever present. The god Ra was revered throughout Egypt, but his worship was most prominent in the city of Heliopolis. His influence was so immense that various Egyptian religious traditions merged his identity with other supreme deities of their pantheons. For example, Amun and Atum, two of the most powerful gods, were often syncretized as Amun-Ra and Atum-Ra, reflecting Ra's overarching significance. His name also became a mark of divine authority among pharaohs, with rulers such as Ramses bearing names that signified their connection to the sun god. Ramses translates to son of Ra or born of Ra, reinforcing the pharaoh's divine status in the eyes of his people. Anubis, the jackal-headed god, is one of the most ancient deities in Egyptian mythology, deeply connected to death and the afterlife. His role evolved over time. Originally, he was the primary god of the underworld, but this position was later assumed by Osiris. Anubis became the deity that led the spirit of the dead to the underworld, where they would face judgment. In the Hall of Two Truths, Anubis oversaw the weighing of the heart, a crucial test to determine one's fate in the afterlife. He placed the deceased's heart on one side of the scale and the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice, on the other. If the heart was heavy with sin, it was devoured by Amit, the devourer of souls, condemning the individual to oblivion. However, if the heart was lighter than the feather, the soul was deemed pure and allowed to enter the afterlife under the rule of Osiris. Anubis was also the god of embalming and mummification, playing a vital role in funerary rites. Priests performing the mummification process often wore jackal masks to invoke his presence and protection. As the guardian of tombs and cemeteries, Anubis ensured the dead were safeguarded from desecration. During the period of Greek rule in Egypt, Anubis was syncretized with Hermes, the Greek messenger god who also guided souls to the underworld. This fusion gave rise to the deity Anubis, a figure that remained popular during Roman rule, reflecting the blend of Egyptian and Hellenistic religious traditions. Bastet, the revered cat goddess of Egyptian mythology, was depicted as a woman with the head of a cat. As a solar deity, She was closely linked to Ra and accompanied him on his solar bark during the day, protecting the world from the monstrous serpent Apophis, who sought to devour the sun. Cats held a sacred status in Egyptian society, honored for their vital role in protecting food supplies from rodents and keeping dangerous snakes at bay. The worship of Bastet was widespread, and harming a cat was considered a grave sacrilege, an offense punishable by death. Cats were cherished as family members, and according to some accounts, they would rush into burning homes to help their owners escape. Some were believed to have perished in the flames, only to return to life through the divine intervention of Bastet, giving rise to the legend of a cat's 9 lives. Due to their sacred nature, cats were often mummified, and special cemeteries were dedicated to their burial. Bastet and her sister Sekhmet, both daughters of Ra, represented two contrasting aspects of feline divinity, Bastet as the nurturing protector and Sekhmet as the fierce warrior. Though their temples have crumbled and their names have faded from mortal tongues, the stories of Egypt's gods endure, whispered in the winds that sweep across the desert sands. They remind us of an age when gods walked among men, shaping the fate of the world and weaving the fabric of existence itself. In this eternal dance of divinity and mortality, the legacy of Ra and his descendants lives on, a testament to the enduring power of myth and the timeless struggle between order and chaos. The tale of Osiris, Isis, Horus, and Seth is not just the story of gods. It is a reflection of the human condition, of betrayal and vengeance, love and loss, justice and redemption. The gods of Egypt were never distant figures, confined to the heavens. They were deeply intertwined with the daily lives of their people, guiding, protecting, and judging. Their influence extended beyond the sands of Egypt, shaping the beliefs and traditions of civilizations for millennia. As the sun rises and sets, as the Nile flows eternally, the gods of Egypt continue to live on, etched in history, myth, and the hearts of those who still tell their stories. They are a testament to the power of storytelling, a reminder that myth is more than legend. It is inspiration, knowledge, and a bridge to the past. If you enjoyed this tale and want to hear more about the myths of old, like this video and subscribe to the channel. The gods may have faded, but their legends will never die.